Well, guys, once again, good evening. Welcome to the second part of today's session. And today we will work on Unit 6. Well, before we talk about Unit 6, also want to ask you, probably you have any question from yesterday. Well, actually, not to ask you. Yesterday we did, let's say, a speaking activity. Probably if you were looking at the material at the link, you noticed that you couldn't edit it. Don't worry about it. Yesterday's task was more for the purpose, practicing. I was telling you the other day that not all the activities that we do during the sessions would be part of the gradable component of quizzes. Of course, that is going to be, let's say, my decision. Then I would decide which one would be gradable and which ones are just, let's say, part of practicing. And that is the idea of the one that we did yesterday. It was like officially our first speaking activity. And then I decided not to include it into the gradable component. So for the people that couldn't attend yesterday, do not worry about it. You don't have a 0, okay? I just wanted to clarify that part. Usually the ones that are written are the ones that have that component, but of course, it's not the only component that will be graded. Of course, speaking is going to take that part, but the one that we did yesterday, don't worry about that one. Of course, the idea was to practice. You had, let's say, the opportunity to work in groups, agree on different aspects. Let me allow people to be here in the session. So don't worry about that one. Today we officially start with Unit 6. In the case of Unit 6, our first activity would be, I'm sharing the whole screen. The whole thing of today would be like to have a look at certain aspects of the unit. As you already know, we don't always use like every single activity that we have in here. Today we'll also have, let's say, collaborative work based on the type of activities that we have today. Before I take attendance, of course, you know that that is a very important part of our sessions as well, to let you know what the Unit 6 has for us. In terms of grammar, we will be talking about past perfect and reported speech. Today, we will talk about past perfect. You are going to notice that besides this collaborative work that you will be doing, we will have a look at the linguistic component. So that part is going to be very, let's say, present on today's session. In terms of vocabulary, you will be working on the difference between say and tell, also talking about adverbs for telling stories, and eventually you will be working on the task that says retell a story. Okay, so I was just, let's say, waiting a few minutes to make sure that most of you could take part of the session, and in this moment I'm going to take attendance. So I'm going to turn this off for a moment while I check the list. Let me have a look at the chat. Give me a second. Bueno, tomo asistencia. Andrés Álvarez. Ok, no está por el momento. Joelia Ayala. Creo que Joely todavía no está. Andrea Vaca.
Present, teacher.
Listo. Give me a second. I have a message from the coordinator. Okay. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. Sorry for making you wait this long. Gilbert Cárdenas.
I'm here.
Okay. John. Here.
Yes, teacher, I'm here.
Don't worry. Brian.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Stephanie Córdoba.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Silvia Durán.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Judy Liscano. Judy Lisette.
Present, teacher.
Listo. Sigo acá. Diana Lisette Lozada.
Hi, teacher, I'm here.
Hello. Luisa Fernanda Paredes.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Luisa Fernanda Pérez.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Jordan Alexis Pinzón. He's not here. Mayra Juliet Pinzón. Está. Mayra Alejandra Plata.
Hi, teacher, here.
Hello. Alejandra Roballo, ya me contaron la situación. Okay, let me check the comments. Harold David. Not here. Angélica Stephanie.
Hi, teacher.
Hello. Daniela Fernanda.
Hi, teacher.
Daniela. We continue with Ana María Velasco.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Jennifer Jimena.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Natalie Joana.
Here, teacher.
Very good. And Cristian Albarracín.
Here.
Okay.
Sí.
Very good. Let's go back. Okay, well, once again, I apologize. You may consider that it takes like a lot of time with the attendance and stuff, but well, you already know that in this type of projects, and because we're talking about, let's say, like public money, we have to specify every single thing that happens during the session. So that is why we take this huge amount of time and the whole, let's say, follow-up that the coordinator makes with you. So just once again, to remind you that situation. I was telling you that today, now that we're going to start unit 6, for the ones that have the book, we're talking about pages 56 and 57. If you don't have the book, for the ones that don't have it yet, during the sessions, we always like share the screen so you can like have a look at it. But hopefully in a few days, you will have like the material, let's say your own material. I was telling you that today's focus has this intention to talk about one grammatical component that is past perfect. This first activity says that it is in groups, but we're going to do it as a group. It says, think of examples of the types of story below from books, films, or real life. We're talking about crime stories or mysteries, science fiction or fantasy, human interest stories, romantic stories, ghost stories, biographies, anecdotes, and adventure stories. I'm gonna give you like a couple of minutes to think about, you know, examples or maybe titles of movies or names of TV shows that somehow we can classify into any of these categories. We also have to be a little bit realistic. We can't say somehow that a movie has only one genre, you know, like it is only biography. Usually when we're talking about movies, there is also drama included, science fiction as well. I mean, But for the moment, we are going to think like in very general terms, probably which would be like the category that it is a little bit more present on that, let's say, book or TV show or probably an event of real life. So look at them. I'm going to give you 3 minutes and then we're going to share like different examples of these, let's say, different categories that we have in here. Do you have any question, guys? While I set the timer? Okay. Oh, and probably also to clarify, let's think of the name of those or movies or books in English. Okay. 3 minutes starting now. Let's see. Complicated to think of examples of every single type, but I think that you may have gotten some examples of some of the types that we have in here. Natalie, for example, which examples do you have in the moment of the categories that we are having a look at on this first part?
For romantic, sorry, for romantics, well, let's start with the first one. For mysteries, it will be, I don't know, for that will be something on murders, like a movie of that. I don't know, Friday, Friday 13, it's a movie or a story of mystery, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it's like crime.
Science fiction, for that I don't have example, but for fantasies, yes. And it's for Disney.
Okay.
I think what is the name of that movie? Maleficent.
Ah, okay.
Fantasy.
Mhm. Okay.
Human
And tell me
interest.
one more.
Human interest. I don't know what is that, teacher. Sorry. And romantic stories. Love Rosie is a romantic story.
Okay, very good. Oh, thank you, Natalie. And we're talking about human interest is that type of a story that actually you feel connected with, probably because it is really sad, or probably because it has, like, let's say, an ending that you learn something from it. That type of event that, well, I don't want to like use too many examples, but let's say that someone who was adopted and wanted to find their biological parents, something like that, that usually people tend to feel connected to those type of stories. Somehow that idea, you know.
Okay, teacher.
Thank you, Natalie. Okay, I'm not asking you like every single one of them, the ones that you have, because, well, it will be quite complicated, but I think that you can share a little bit. Judy, tell me two. Different from fantasy and romantic stories.
About adventure stories,
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean,
Mhm.
and for the biography, Dream of My Father by Barack Obama.
Okay, very good. That is a really nice example. Let's see, Christian, two examples from different ones. The ones that are already crossed, let's say that they are deleted from your group.
I don't know if counts like a human interest stories, but Operation Valkyrie operation about was like some way to defeat the Nazis since inside of the Nazis their
Cells.
same leaders.
Okay.
But I don't know if it counts like that or like a human interest stories or biographies.
Well, probably it works more on the biographical point of view. Well, even, well, historical, but we don't have that category. Yeah, it would go more like on biography. The human interest in like a sad situation, that people feel connected. Like the example that I was giving you. I'm trying to think about sad examples, or for example, there has been like a movies that probably the child has a kind of disability, but then at the beginning, the life of the child is very complicated, but then after a lot of effort and love, the person succeeds in life. That is the type of human interest, Usually people cry a lot on this type of movies. Well, but I don't want to like lose the track. And Christian, any other example, maybe?
For crime stories, anti-gangster squad.
Okay. That is a crime story?
Yes, it's a little based on Al Capone.
Okay.
There's a lot of apologies to him. It's not exactly the same story. A lot of apologies.
Could you repeat the name of the movie, Christian? Sorry.
Anti-gangster squad.
Okay, I have
By
to be
for
honest. I thought of Suicide Squad, so that is what I was
no,
telling you. There is crime story. So sorry, you were right from the very beginning. That's embarrassing for me. Thank you, Christian. Okay, two more. Angelica,
Yes, sure.
tell me two movies. Also, we can talk about books. Guys, probably. Well, you are talking about movies a little bit more, but also books. We have science fiction, human interest, ghost stories, and anecdotes. Tell me two of those four categories that we have in here.
Okay. Human interest stories. The pursuit of happiness.
Okay, that's a human interest. Absolutely.
Ghost stories. I think in Casper and the I forget the name. de los cazadores de fantasmas. Sorry.
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters. Thank you.
Okay, we can use it at ghost stories. Well, I'm not the expert in filming, so I don't know if Casper works, but it's a ghost at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. I have it's a book, but it's a crime stories. It's Sherlock Holmes, the books.
Absolutely.
The
Really
novels.
good. Okay. Well, which sorry, someone is waiting. We have science fiction and anecdotes. Which of you guys would like to share the name of a movie or a book that is related to these two categories?
Teacher,
In
Mad
anecdote-
Max is a science fiction.
I guess it was Luisa.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. You were saying?
Yes, Mad Max is a science fiction movie.
Okay. And someone else also opened the microphone. Diana, I guess? I don't remember.
Me, Stephanie.
Stephanie as well. And then Diana. Stephanie, what do you have in mind?
For anecdotes, Forrest Gump.
Anecdotes?
Anecdote.
Forrest Gump. Okay, very good. And Diana, what about yours? You wanted to share, so of course.
Oh, yes, teacher. For anecdotes,
Anecdotes.
maybe Marlene and me.
Okay. That is like a kind of
There's a
relate-
movie. It's a good one.
It's a
It's a
movie.
movie.
Well, I
It's
have
pretty-
to be honest as well. Movies that I don't watch movies that have dogs because I know that they are going to die and then I'm going to cry. And I don't watch movies when I know I'm going to cry. But I'm sure that it is a really good one. Okay, guys. I'm having problems with this. Now, usually when we are talking about this type of movies or types of books, we can, let's say, you can see, of course, the whole screen. Somehow we can classify them into two general categories. We can say that some of them are fictional, somehow, and all in other cases, we can say that they are true, right? Also, in other cases, they have that combination, you know, that they are, let's say, 100% true events, and in other cases are fictional. Which of these that we have in here are usually fictional? What do you think, Daniela?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat?
Sure. Here we were talking about like 8 categories could be for books and movies. Now, the idea is that you're going to tell me which are usually fictional and which are usually true, you know, like the type of events that they tell. So in your opinion, in your perspective, which of these types of stories are usually fictional?
Fictional,
Mm-hmm.
like science fiction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they are usually fictional. What else? Any other?
Adventure.
Okay.
Ghost
Mhm.
stories. And
Ghost stories. Okay.
ghost.
Fantasy.
Again?
Fantasy. Fan.
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Okay, very good. What about that they are usually true, Mayra Plata?
Biographies,
Mm-hmm.
anecdotes. Well, I believe romantic stories are based in reality life sometimes and adventure stories. Some of the adventure stories, not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Crime stories and some mysteries as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And of course, we can't deny that in some cases they are combined. They have some, let's say, real events and also fictional events, but that is more based on the fact that they want to attract the audience. Okay. Well, guys, you will be sent to breakout rooms. You will be working in groups of 3 people. And you're going to read this article, well, this story actually that we have in here. There are some aspects to keep in mind. Number 1, you notice that there are some spaces. Let's say that for the moment, don't worry about the spaces that the story has. these spaces don't really affect the general meaning of the text. Of course, there are some aspects that are being, let's say, told on those parts, but the general idea, let's say that it is easier to get. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to do two activities, and I want you to be very careful, and the idea is usually that you work collaboratively. Number one, you're going to read the article and you're going to answer these 5 questions that we have in here. Let's read the questions to make sure that their meaning is clear for you. Gilbert, please, could you read questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Sure. So read the article and answer the questions. Where did Tamara and Adriana first meet? Why was their first meeting shocking? Who first realized that they were sisters and when? Say 3 things that the girls had in common when they met. What kind of relationship do they have now?
Very good. Realized. Do you remember, guys, the meaning of realize?
Like darse cuenta.
Very good. That's the idea on that one. Let me adjust because you need to share a screen. So that is the first part. Based on the article, you're going to answer the questions. Then, as you already noticed, and as I was telling you, here we have some blank spaces. You're going to use these 5 expressions, well, not expression, these 5 statements in the blank spaces. As you notice, and although it sounds pretty obvious, there are only 5 statements and there are 5 spaces. That means that you have to use all of them. You can't repeat any of them. I mean, you can't use A in 4 and 5. And of course, you can't eliminate any of the statements. It is not possible to say that, okay, we didn't use a statement B. You have to use all of them. So at the end, you, 1, completed the statements, completed the text with the statements, and of course, you answer the questions based on the information that it is presented in the article. What is a point that works, let's say, in our side, that all the questions somehow are pretty literal to the information that is being presented on the text. Number 2, you're going to notice that the questions or the answer of these questions appear on the same order as the information is being presented on the text. So be careful on that. And of course, the idea that you 3 guys participate, so the activity is easier to be developed among yourselves. I'm going to create breakout rooms as usual. Well, as usual, no, in my case, the idea with the breakout rooms is that you are, let's say, organized at random. Guys, do you have any question?
Teacher, can you repeat the second part of the activity?
Sure. So part 1 is to answer the questions. Part 2 is to put these statements from A to E on the corresponding part of the story. Notice that here we have 5 spaces. The idea is to put these sentences on the corresponding part of the story. Okay?
Thank you, teacher.
Very good. Only these 5. When we get back, of course, we are going to, 1, check the questions, and then we will check the answers, one of the answers, how you organize the statements in the story. But this part in particular is going to be a listening activity. Guys, let me check how I organize the group so I make sure that you guys, the ones that don't have the book, well, you are actually working with the people who have the book. Let me turn off this for a moment so you don't see my face suffering. Give me a second. Okay. María Alejandra. Listo. Sí, pues que no tienen libro todavía, quedaron con compañeros que sí tienen libro. Okay, guys. Let's begin. You're going to have 15 minutes. Make sure that you use time properly. When we get back, we will check the answers. Let's start. finish it. And also, I'm sure that you noticed that the information that was presented on the article, well, in terms of vocabulary and also like the narrative that was used was pretty simple, Anyway, there were a lot of details to analyze, of course. And well, first of all, the idea was to answer the question. So I'm going to ask also one question per group. So from group number 1 that we have Christian, Luisa, and Stephanie. Luisa, tell me, where did Tamara and Adriana first meet?
Adriana y Tamara met in a local McDonald's.
Adriana y Tamara?
Yes.
Y Tamara. Oh, and.
Tamara.
It's just a silly thing, but that happens. Oh, but of course, that's the answer. Very good. Question number 2 to group number 2, we have Andrea, Brian, and Mayra. Andrea, why was their first meeting shocking?
Because they look very similar.
Okay, very good. That is a good way to summarize it. Of course, group number 3, we have Angelica, Jennifer, and Julie. Jennifer, who first realized that they were sisters and when?
It was Justin Torre because he is a friend of Adriana, but when she went to Tamara's birthday, he knew that both were sisters.
When he went. Very good.
Yeah.
Number 4, we have Natalie, Daniela, and Gilbert. Gilbert, say 3 things that the girls had in common when they met. Well, in this case, well, there are a lot of possibilities. I'm sure that you've got like a lot of details, but for the moment, let's say 3.
Okay, both love hip hop music. Of course, she shared the same mother. And also the same height.
They have the same height. Okay, we have 3 for the moment. Thank you, Gilbert. From group number 5, Ana Maria, John, and Luisa. Luisa, other 3 things different from the ones that were shared by group number 4?
They had exactly the same height.
Well,
I don't know if he said that. They are both students in Long Island.
Long Island. Okay. Good.
And they both like hip hop.
Okay. Gilbert already said that one. Any other that you have?
Okay, and they share a birthday. I don't know if he say that. Their adoptive parents have died.
Okay, very good. And well, there were other aspects also talking about, well, probably pretty obvious, but it was already stated, talking about the appearance, talking about the mannerisms, talking about the school grades. Remember that in the article, they said that they had exactly the same grades on different subjects. And I guess that would be it. I don't know if I'm missing any in case that you want to expand on that one. And question number 5 to group number 6. We have Diana, Mayra, and Sylvia. What kind of relationship do they have now? I'm going to ask the question to Diana.
Their relationship right now is more like friends than sisters.
Okay, very good. That was the first part of the activity. On the second part, the idea for you was to complete the story with these 5 statements. And the intention was to make sure, that the statements actually made sense on the different spaces that the story had. I know that you already did it. That was like the intention of the first part of the activity. Now we're going to listen, in order to compare the answers that you got in your group with the, let's say, final correct answers that all of us should have. You already had the letters. I'm sure that all of you already know how it was organized, but now we're gonna listen only once, okay? And then I'm gonna ask you how you organize the letters based on the probably, maybe, if you had to make any type of correction, that's fine. and then we finish this part of the activity, okay? So let's listen to check if your answers, the way you matched, why no, the statements with the spaces actually is correct. Let's see.
Unit 6, Recording 1.
When Tamara Rabi met Adriana Scott at a local McDonald's restaurant, their lives changed forever. I didn't know what to say except hi. I was just so shocked. It was like seeing myself, says Adriana. They were both students at neighboring universities in Long Island, New York, and they had grown up only 30 kilometers apart. They shared a birthday. They were exactly the same height, and both loved hip-hop. But the most important thing they shared was the same Mexican mother. Both girls grew up knowing that their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born, but they had no idea that they had an identical twin. Then Justin Latorre, a friend of Adriana's, went to Tamara's 20th birthday party. When he walked in and saw Tamara, he couldn't believe his eyes. I was just shocked. She looked so much like Adriana, says Justin. Then it got clearer. They had to be sisters. In fact, Tamara had already noticed that strangers on her university campus often smiled and said hello, clearly mistaking her for someone else. Following the birthday, Justin put the two girls in touch, and they arranged the McDonald's meeting by email. As she came towards me, she was walking like me, talking like me, says Tamara. We have the same mannerisms, the same interests, and got the same grades at school, adds Adriana. The girls even discovered that as children, they had often had the same nightmare of a really loud noise followed by a very quiet one. They had another sad factor in common. Both of their adoptive fathers had died a few years before they met. Now the twins are finishing their studies, and they meet often. I feel she's my sister, but our relationship right now is more like friends, says Tamara. She's optimistic and excited that their futures will be together. We will always have each other. We don't have any other brothers and sisters. We'll grow old together.
Okay. So based on the story that was presented, basically it was a kind of dictation, let's put it like that. Stephanie, which of these sentences was the one used to complete space 1?
With the sentence C, they had grown up only 30 kilometers apart.
That's it. Very good. Mayra Pinzon, what about the space number 2?
B. Their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born.
That's it. Very good. Luisa Perez, what about space number 3?
Me, teacher.
Yes, Luisa Perez.
Number 3 is A. Tamara had already noticed that strangers on her university campus often smiled and said hello.
Very good. Which would be the statement for space number 4? Jennifer.
It's A. They had often had the same nightmare.
E.
E, yes, sorry.
Don't confuse me. Okay, very good. And of course, that means that number 5 is B. Both of their adoptive fathers had died. Very good, guys. Well, we can say somehow that if we want to have a look at any of the categories that we had from the beginning of the session, this is a human interest story. To wrap up this activity in particular, I would like to ask your opinion about 2 things. First, as you remember, the name of the article was A Twist of Fate. I'm gonna send you the link to the chat. And I wanna know your opinion. In this case, we can keep it anonymous, don't worry. And the first question, that is the other two questions that we have on the book. It says, why do you think that the article is called A Twist of Fate? You already read it, you already analyzed the information, you answered questions. Also, probably you discussed some events with your groups. Now, I want you to give me your opinion, in this case, of course, in an individual way. You're going to tell me, why do you think that the article is called A Twist of Fate? I sent the link. This is the first question from two questions that we are going to answer. As I was telling you, in order to wrap up like the whole story. Notice that it says 250 characters, but it doesn't have to be that long. Of course, the idea for this to be precise, not 2 words and that's it. Give me a little bit of extra information, but I want to know your perception about it. So remember, you type the information that you consider relevant, you click on submit, and then in here, I can see the number of answers that you have sent. Once again, let's keep it anonymous, just in case you want to share a very personal opinion of, in this case, talking about what the title is about. So again, why do you think the article is called A Twist of Fate? I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. The idea that you provide like a very precise opinion about the title of the article. And of course that we have the time to check the different answers that you share. Do you have any question about the instruction, guys? While I set the timer.
It's fine, teacher.
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, guys, 3 minutes. First question, let's see. Well, guys, time's up. I'm going to start reading some of your answers while you continue sending your opinion related to the title. It says, because it was an unexpected event for both girls. That was from Diana. Very good. It says, I believe that destiny is always written and leads us to make things or meet people that for some reason have to be in our lives. Wow, that's very philosophical, but true at the same time. This is why it always twists in unexpected ways. Interesting. Because they didn't know about each other and they met by chance in the McDonald's. Okay. Well, it wasn't actually by chance. The friend like set them up. Let's put it like that. Because even being twins, sisters, because even incluso siendo gemelas, that's like very Spanish grammar. No sería being, sino being, el que termina en ing. The odds of being adopted, aquí sí va, by parents in the same area in law and more that they share, me imagino que era aquí they, share a lot of aspects of their lives when they grow with different parents. Aquí el different se nos fue en español parece. Voy bajando acá, se me confunde un poquito, sorry. I consider this article is appropriate for the article because Adriana and Tamara's life changed after they knew each other and had a twin sister. Yeah, that is like an interesting twist. Because they were twisted and separated, twisted. When they were little babies and after a long time living apart, they make each other, ellas se hacen, by coincidence and for a common friend, a total unexpected situation. Probably they meet each other. Más bien porque make es hacer y creo que no nos cuadra acá como la intención del texto que se creó. Who can believe that from 7 million of people, well, it's not million, I guess it's billion, right? Of people both with different lives, sería en plural, would meet in a McDonald's restaurant unless by a common friend. Also, I think that the name is because from that moment of their life changed completely. Absolutely. Como estamos hablando en plural de las vidas de ellas, sería V, lives. But of course, the general idea presented was pretty good. Because their lives changed after that and they didn't imagine that they have a twin. Ellas tienen. Okay. Now they have each other for always. That was for Andrea. Un poquito más, ese interesting quedó muy triste. Because they didn't believe that they had a twin sister, also that they grown up. No en participio, en pasado, crecieron. They grew up near, so they were always near to each other. We are about to finish. Because they wouldn't imagine, they wouldn't imagine they had a sister and further, faltó la H acá, a twin living so near each other. Because in such a big world, it is a great twist of fate that two sisters meet like that and that they live so close and that they have so many similarities in their lives. Very good. Nos quedan dos. It's, pilas acá con el apóstrofe para que no nos quede posesivo. Necesitamos que sea el it is. Strange, something like that, but not impossible. So in my opinion, we don't know everything. Events like of the both girls could past. Entonces, don't, el apóstrofe aquí también para negar, could pass, pero past de pasar y no past de pasado. Entonces sería, en vez de terminar con T, otra S ahí. Because for both girls discovered that had a twin and they couldn't with the other. Voy a volver a leer, lo siento, mis ojos. Because for both girls, two discovers, and que sería con el two, that had a twin and they couldn't with the other all their lives. It must have been a difficult event to process. Absolutely. I think it because a relationship as a sister is strong. I totally agree. And it's important to know who your blood is. En ese caso, como la oración arranca como una idea en términos afirmativos en gramática, digamos, es importante saber quién es su sangre. No pensaría que lleva el orden de pregunta, pero quedaría, it is important to know who your blood is. El verbo to be cae al final. Their lives change completely and is something that anyone can control. Very good, guys. Thank you very much for your opinion. And the final question before we move to our activity linguistic one of the day. Do you think the story is happy or sad? It's just like to keep a tally. I want to know your opinion to wrap up the story that we have just read, this, let's say, human interest story. So what do you think? Happy or sad? 30 seconds. I don't think that you need more time for that. Okay. Well, you would agree somehow. Let's see its percentage. It looks more elegant. 87% of you, okay, changed. Consider that at the end of the day, the story is happy. And 13% of you consider that somehow the story is sad. As usual, we tend to have like a different perspective. There were like the ups and downs on the story, but according to the audience, you guys, the majority of you consider that at the end of the day, the story somehow can be considered happy, although the bad, let's say, things that also happened through their lives. Okay, very good. I'm going to close it. And well, guys, I was telling you, I'm sure that you already noticed while you were reading the story that, first of all, it was pretty obvious that we were talking about past. And the idea is to highlight a little bit this grammatical structure that is like the start, you know, of this first part of the unit, that is past perfect. Now, we also have to be realistic. We don't use only past perfect. In this case in particular, that we are talking about an event that happened in the past, we always combine different structures. We even use why not modals. We use verb to be. But in case that we want to use the past perfect, we have to be, let's say, careful in terms of how we create the structure. You already know past simple. You already know the whole idea of regular and irregular verbs. That is not new information for you. Let's say that when we're talking about past perfect, we always have to use, let's say, two words in order to combine it properly. First of all, we have the auxiliary had, that we use it with all the pronouns. It doesn't matter if it is plural or singular. And we continue with the idea of the verb in past participle. Let's not forget that we have the typical division of regular and irregular, but the verb always has to go in past participle. Of course, let's say respecting those rules that we already know. If we combine it with past simple, it is going to be incorrect at the end of the day. If we talk about some of the examples, maybe from the text, we can say their adoptive fathers had died, for example, or we can say they met. That would be the statement in past simple. Now, in which other cases we can talk about past perfect? Usually we're talking about an event that is like really, really in the past. Even in a statement, we can consider that we have past simple and then we have the idea in past perfect. We always use what is easier for us. Probably we consider that when we want to talk about something in past, we only need past simple. And actually, it is possible to convey communication only using past simple. But if we want to, let's say, make it more interesting or more dynamic, we can include past perfect in order to, let's say, explain a little bit more or to give extra information about that event in past. But, you know, at the end of the day, we use the combination that we consider relevant. That is going to be like something to keep in mind. Now, we're going to do a very simple exercise before we actually go to the activity that, let's say, is part of our gradable components. And the idea that you're going to complete these 5 statements. As you see, there are 5 verbs on each parenthesis. In number 1, we have be. Number 2, love. Number 3, realize. Number 4, plan. And number 5, study. What you have to do is to make the transformation, you know. So now the sentence, like the whole idea, is in past perfect. Let me go back to this previous slide. when we're talking about past perfect, remember that we use the auxiliary and we use the verb in past participle. But before I send you to do the activity, I would like to know if you have any questions from this part. Well, maybe it's pretty obvious, but just like to clarify it, what would be like a similar statement in past perfect in Spanish? Para responder una pregunta que me enviaron en el chat internamente. What would be like one statement that we could say in Spanish that it is like our version of past perfect?
Se ha ganado la lotería.
Ha ganado, it would be present perfect.
Había ganado.
Había ganado. So we can say, se había ganado la lotería porque jugó el viernes. So notice that it is like a way to combine it, you know, trying to make sure that it is a little bit more dynamic. We can say, se ganó la lotería porque jugó. And the idea is, let's say that exactly the same in terms of the general meaning. But again, the intention is to make it more dynamic, to combine it with different statements. When I say statements, I'm talking about other grammatical structures. I know that you know, of course, I know that you have some structures that for you are more robust, that you feel more comfortable with, but always the idea with this type of information that we share with you is like, okay, I already know this, now I'm going to include this new structure or these new expressions so I can enrich the vocabulary that I have. So not only past simple and past simple and past simple, now let's try to make sure that we can include past perfect as well. So as I was telling you, now I go back here. It is a pretty simple exercise. It's just like to, let's say, summarize the information. And also, well, keep in mind the different structures that you found in the article. 5 statements. I'm sure that you don't need more than 5 minutes. Anyway, we will read them and then we would move to the activity that we have for today. Okay, guys? So 5 minutes starting now. Sorry. Okay, guys, let's check our, let's say, grammatical activity before we go to the practical one. Ana Maria, could you read the statement number 1, please?
Before Nadia Drake earned her degree, she was a ballet dancer.
Natalia, was is past simple, and we need the past participle. Ana María, perdón, dice Natalia, lo siento.
Been. She had been a ballet dancer.
Esa sí era. Had been. Thank you very much. Let's move to number 2, Andrea.
Her father had loved astronomy and Nadia also developed a love for it.
That's it. Very good. Let's have a look at number 3. Let me have a look at Angelica.
The teacher had realized the topic was difficult, so she explained it carefully.
Realized. Number 4, Brian, please. Brian disappeared.
Had planned,
Okay.
teacher.
Ahora sí. Yes, Brian. Brian.
¿Me escucha?
Ahora sí, sí, señor.
Had planned.
No, but the whole sentence, Brian. I mean, the day that you read everything, not only like the verb conjugation, no, toda la oración.
Okay. Es que no había escuchado. She had planned to have different career, but she eventually became a software writer.
That's it. Very good. And Christian, number 5.
We weren't surprised when the road changed direction because we had started the map.
That's it. Very good. Just in case, let's have a look at the answer key. Well, I know that you don't have problems about it. Sylvia, tell me.
Sorry, teacher. In the previous slide, at the end, something about before and after that we use past simple at the end. With before and after, we often use the simple past.
Instead of past perfect.
Yeah. So in the one sentence that is not necessary use only was.
Only was? Well, was if it is related to the verb to be. Well, because of the idea of past perfect is to explain something like happened in the past, you know, like it's the past of the past. So usually when we make that difference using before and after, would be before, you know, notice like in this example, we are talking about that action that happened first. Let's read it. It says, my brother realized he hated math before he declared his major. So if we put like the sequence of event, first of all, he noticed that math was like awful for him. And number 2, choosing what he was going to study. So that is like the idea. Even if we want to enrich a little bit more, let's say our ideas, our sentences using past perfect. We can combine them would be with before and after precisely to see like the sequence of events. In this case, first it is, let's say, talking about the explanation. Let's put it like that. And then the second event. But in this case in particular, notice that both statements are in past simple, right? He realized and he declared. So at the end of the day, it is not like, as I was telling you, it is not like an obligation to use always past perfect and past simple. We use what we want, but just in case, if we want to include it, we have to make sure that it is the past of the past. You know, it goes like before the main action that took place before. Am I clear, Sylvia? Or I mean, is it somehow? Okay, good.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Usually this type of Grammatical explanations, I know that in some cases they tend to be confusing, especially as the level advances. Of course, there are more combinations, more aspects to keep in mind. And as I was telling you, I know that we usually already know those structures that for us are easier to use, we feel more comfortable with. Let's say that they are more practical in order to convey the meaning that we have in mind. But the idea is to start using, let's say, these new things. And that is what you're going to do. This activity in particular is going to be, let's say, focused on a positive experience or event in your life. Notice that it's like a very general topic, I would say. Well, I'm going to read the instruction properly. It says, tell me about a positive experience or event in your life. When did it happen? What had happened before this experience? And question number 2, how did the positive experience change the direction of your life? I'm not asking you a specific number of words. I hope that there is not 5 words, but it is not 300 words, okay? Because if it's the first, let's say, official written activity, I'm not going to give you the number of words. I want you to feel a little bit free, let's say, while answering the 2 questions. But notice like the structures that are used in the question. When did it happen? Talking about this positive experience and what had happened before. So what is the idea? That you make the connection with past perfect as well. Let's use it. And of course, it is not use it because I'm telling you to use it. Use it in parts of the story that they make sense, okay? Not just like to put it because I want you to use it, no. Make sure that it actually works. Of course, I'm expecting you to include it and not like everything is only in past simple and that's it. Because that is like our comfortable zone, you know? So let's make sure that we can use this new structure. Now, I'm gonna send you the link to the chat and also where you're going to see this same slide. And also I'm going to share with you, as usual, this image so you know which is the slide that you have to use. I don't know why it is appearing like with this like really minimum case, but I hope that you can actually have a look at it. Well, there were some adjustments, of course. We have Christian, you will work on slide number 1, and Natalie will work. Ay, dice también number 1, qué raro.
Yes, teacher.
Oh, no. Natalie, let me check one thing. Yo tenía la 73. Natalie, please work on slide 23. Okay?
Okay, teacher.
Yeah. I should have checked, but I didn't. That's life. Espero no haya números repetidos because it's way too late to... Hay 2 8. Regáleme un momento. No me había dado cuenta. Lo siento. In the meantime, you can have a look like at the instruction in general. Let me check. I'm gonna give you a few moments of silence. Listas. Sí. Okay, but there are 2 8s, but there is no 9, right? Entonces, Stephanie Córdoba en la 8 y Silvia en la 9. Okay. Oh my God, my poor eyes. It's not an excuse anyway. I guess that's the only one when Natalie Perez would be on slide 23. And that would be it. I apologize. Tomorrow, I promise I will make the proper adjustments and we would have like the proper image. Remember, guys, a positive experience. Okay, and a final thing so I don't interrupt you anymore. The idea that you share something that you want to share. I don't want you to feel like probably digging on your personal life. It's an event of your life that you want to share and that you feel comfortable with, you know, like telling the story that you consider relevant. And finally, when I say something positive from your point of view, maybe we're talking about that, I don't know, that you found some coins on the street, or maybe that you won a very important prize, but if for you that is positive, it's okay. So no more interruption. I'm gonna give you 15 minutes and we'll be checking your slides in case that I see something that needs to be corrected. And well, let me know if you have any questions. 15 minutes starting now.
I'm sorry, teacher. The activity is to write about a positive experience.
Yes,
Eh,
that's it.
Can you tell me what's my slide number, please?
Sure, John, I guess that yours didn't change. Give me a moment. Yours is number 6.
Got it, teacher. Thank you. I'm gonna do it.
Okay, great. Well, guys, our time is about to finish. We have less than 2 minutes. I have seen that most of you are already like wrapping up. That's why I was telling you, I'm not telling you to write like, let's say an essay, but not like a 10 words story. So make sure that you wrap it up. Tomorrow, I will check this in the morning, okay? The idea as usual is in case that it is necessary to provide some feedback or corrections. What I have seen so far, first of all, don't forget to write your name. I'm going to say this in Spanish. Yo ya les había contado al inicio de la sesión. Esta actividad, si en particular, hoy tiene nota. Y veo que hay varios textos que ya están siendo terminados, pero no tienen nombre. Igual coloquen su nombre. ¿Listo? Para que lo tengan súper presente. Y lo otro, veo muchos hay en minúscula. Recuerden que el pronombre para hacer referencia a la primera persona del singular siempre, siempre, siempre debe ir en mayúscula. ¿Listo? Guys, I would like to know you have any question before we finish officially our session. Okay, I guess. Well, remember, make sure that you wrap up. Most of you are already finishing it. And remember that the day that tomorrow I'm going to have a look at the information that you collected. Let's say that the idea that you include past perfect, it doesn't mean that every single sentence has to be in past perfect. Remember that the intention is that ahora sí se acabó. That the structure, let's say it's here to enrich what you have already created. So guys, thank you very much. I hope that you don't take more time of this night for your activities. Señor, cuéntame.
Disculpe, yo tengo una inquietud, pero pues es algo básica. Cuando nosotros utilizamos el auxiliar, bueno, el verbo to be, la contracción tiene algo que ver con el verbo que le prosigue. Es decir, si yo voy a utilizar esto presente continuo, ¿es necesario utilizar la contracción del verbo to be o es indiferente?
Quizás la diferencia más grande que hay es que las contracciones tienen ese tinte informal, más no quiere decir que esté mal. Entonces, va en uno. Y digamos que, por ejemplo, en esa actividad en particular, yo no les dije que era un texto formal. Entonces, el uso de las contracciones, pues está bien. Es, digamos que simplemente una historia. Ya en otros contextos, habría que determinar si es formal o informal. Y ya ahí sí nos obliga, o por ejemplo, las actividades de la plataforma. En algunos casos dice, tiene que usarse la contracción o utilice la forma extendida, es decir, las dos palabritas por separado. Al final del día significa lo mismo, pero el contexto es el que nos cuenta si se usa o no.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Listo, Brian. Guys, have a wonderful night and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, teacher.
Take care, everybody.